Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is your project management tutor, Professor Henry Bwisa of Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology in Kenya. This is a continuing lecture on project management. We're now talking about the logical framework or the logframe, which is a project management tool. There are other tools that we have talked about in on this channel. We have the problem tree analysis, the stakeholder analysis. We are planning a project. Remember the project cycle management. And this tool is very important in terms of managing, controlling, and monitoring the project. So we are saying that every project addresses a goal, which is reached in a succession of logical events. First, we undertake activities, and these activities yield outputs. Those outputs will yield outcomes, and the outcomes will yield the goal. All these can be arranged in a logical hierarchical form. Let's see. Yes, activities are undertaken. They lead to outputs, purpose, or outcome, and goal. There it is. The activities that we undertake lead to the outputs of a project. And the outputs of the project lead to outcomes. And it is the outcomes that lead to a goal. And all this we call vertical logic of the logframe. And then the achievement of every element of the vertical logic, like the activities, is measured in verifiable indicators, whose means of verification must be known. When planning to execute a project, certain assumptions are made about what is planned now and its execution, given that planning is today, but execution or implementation is tomorrow. And therefore, we have to assume that what we are planning today, the conditions that we are envisaging, will hold true so that we can achieve our project results. So, verifiable indicators, their means of verification, and assumption can also be arranged in a sequence. And there they are. Objectively verifiable indicators, means of verification, and assumptions. Now, this is what we call the horizontal logic of the logframe. Now, put the horizontal and the vertical logic together, and you get the logframe matrix. There we are. Activities, outputs, purpose, and goal. And then OVI, objectively verifiable indicators, MOV, means of verification and assumption. Now we get a matrix. This is what we call logframe matrix. Now, the logic of a program, in this case even a project, but please, program and project is not one and the same thing. I'm using here interchangeably program and project, but strictly speaking, a program is a group of projects undertaken to achieve one particular goal. Let's say you want a program of rural electrification. To undertake that program, you will need several projects, like, road buildings, because we must travel to the interior. That's a project under rural electrification. Clearing of the rural scene to lay whether the poles or whatever, that's a project under the program. You see, financing, financial, so many projects, or let's say quite a number of ministries in a country will be involved in a rural electrification, Minister of Transport, Minister of Rural Work, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Finance, and all that. So those separate ones are projects that contribute to a program. But for now, we shall use them interchangeably. So there we are. The logic, the hypothesis that if we undertake these activities, then we shall get those outputs. And if we undertake these outputs, or we use these outputs well, then we shall achieve the purpose. And if we achieve the purpose, then the goal will be achieved. Not the what if. If. What does it mean? That if the activities are undertaken, yes, they may not be undertaken. Why? Because we are planning now that we are going to undertake this activity tomorrow, but something can happen. So we are assuming that nothing will happen and the activity will be undertaken. Hence, the assumptions. We can get output, but not achieve the purpose. Let me give an example. We said, I'm now talking to my students. We say that as students, your degree that you are pursuing is a project. So you can undertake activity, you can go to school, you can get lessons, lectures, or you may not. Why? Fees might be a problem. Teachers may strike, and therefore the learning will not go on. So we are assuming that there will be no strikes, there will be fees, and therefore the activity will be undertaken. Then you will graduate. Again, you may not graduate even if you have finished your classes, because something can again happen to disturb the graduation, and therefore you don't even come out as an output. All these sections, we can have something unforeseen coming in the middle, and they are not achieved. Therefore, we are saying if we do it, yes, but if we don't do it, then the goal will not be achieved. Hence, the assumptions that we shall be talking about. So, we're talking of the vertical logic. The vertical logic, the goal is the higher level objective towards which the project is expected to contribute. The purpose is the effect which is expected to be achieved as a result of the project. And the outputs are the results that the project management should be able to guarantee. And the activities are those activities that have to be undertaken by the project in order to produce outputs. So, in summary, all those vertical logic must have indicators that will verify them, objectively verifiable indicators. Yes, not in any order. The activities, the inputs, the goods, the people, the services, those are indicators necessary to undertake the activities. The goal, the measures, either direct or indirect, to verify to what extent the goal is fulfilled. Those will be indicators. The purpose, the measures, direct or indirect, to verify to what extent the purpose has been fulfilled. The output, again, these are measures. Indicators are measures to verify that what we are undertaken to do have been done or has been done. And then there is the means of verification. Those measures, how shall we get them? What is the source? The sources of data necessary to verify status of a goal, that's for the goal, sources of data, all through the means of verification simply means that we have said these are our indicators, but where shall we go to get these indicators? What is the source of those indicators, or the status of purpose, output, and so on and so forth? And then we have already talked about assumptions. We make assumptions, we are planning now, we want to do tomorrow, and we make several assumptions. I shall see them in a sample. So the matrix, logframe matrix, serves the following functions. It is a tool for planning a logical set of interventions. It is a tool for appraising a program document, project document. It's a concise summary of the project or program. It's a tool for monitoring progress made with regard to delivery of outputs and activities. And it's a tool for evaluating impact of project program outputs, progress in achieving purpose and goal. Now let's have an example, a hypothetical example. Here is a situation where the river water is deteriorating. The status of the rivers are deteriorating, they're getting dirty, and therefore they are affecting the health of the region. So, we undertake a project which will contribute to improved health, and our focus is the river. Look, the goal is to contribute to improved health. The outcomes will be an improved quality of water, and the output will be reduced volume of facial waste discharged into the river, reduced volume of household refuse directly dumped into the river. So what activities can we do to achieve that goal? First, we conduct a baseline survey to see how many houses don't have latrines, how many people are throwing directly refuse into the waters. That's an activity baseline survey. We prepare and deliver public awareness campaign, trainings and all that. We prepare engineering specifications for latrines and expanded sewage network so that direct dumping into the river is avoided. Now that's the vertical logic. Now let's take the horizontal logic and see the indicators. What will be the indicator that we have conducted a baseline survey of households? We must get the baseline data. Knowledge, if it's training, knowledge, practice, coverage for household waste management exists. Once we have that baseline data, that's the indicator. Now, where do we get that from? Means of verification. It is maybe a 6-month progress report that we undertook to achieve that data. We schedule visits of mobile teams completed. That's an indicator that once the scheduled visits of mobile teams is completed, where do we get that indicator? Maybe extension team progress report, because they went out to take the baseline data, they went out to visit the villagers and all that, but they came and made a report. It is from that report that we shall get those indicators. Engineering plans approved by Ministry of Public Works. You see, the engineers, the activity was that the engineers prepared specifications for latrine so that we dig latrines and the households don't dump feces in the water. The indicator will be the charter, the approved project charter from the Ministry of Public Works. But we are making an assumption. The assumption that the municipality budget for improvement the sewage system remain unchanged. If money is not forthcoming, these activities will not be undertaken. So yes, we can plan now, but the assumption is that there will be money for us to undertake these activities. If there is no money, then definitely the activities won't be undertaken and the goal won't be achieved. Let's come now to outputs that want to reduce volume of feces waste discharged into river. We plan that the indicator will be 60% of household feces waste is disposed of via latrines, because we're going to build latrines, and then people will now be disposing their feces in latrines, and want 60% of the people now. That will actually show that the volume of feces discharged directly in the water is reduced. Now, where do we get that data from? How do we verify it? Annual sample survey conducted by municipality, because the surveys are conducted. How many people are now, how many latrines do we have in the village, in the region? That survey report is where we shall get that indicator. And then the assumption is that wastewater treatment meets the national standards. Yeah. If the treatment, much as we have done the exercise, but if the treatment doesn't meet the standards, then the reduction will not be achieved. Come to the outcomes. The concentration of those bacteria in the water is reduced by 20% compared to previously. Remember, we undertook a baseline survey and we found that there is high concentration of bacteria in the water because of the dumping and so on and so forth. Now, the indicator of achieving that will be, say, 20% of the bacteria is reduced. Where do we get it from? The monthly water quality surveys reports is where we shall pick it from. And the assumption is that the Clean River legislation is introduced. If there is no legislation introduced and people still continue dumping even when they are latrines, but there's the legislation. So these are assumptions, and we come to the goal. The indicator that we have contributed to improved health. The instance of waterborne diseases is reduced by 30%. Remember, there was a baseline survey, and with a very high instance of waterborne diseases, we want to reduce that instance by 30%, and that will show that we have contributed towards improved health. And where we get the means, which means what sources will give us that data? You go to hospitals, municipality hospitals, and the clinical records. They'll tell us that yes, we have now reduced instances of waterborne reporting. So you can see, and they may or may not be assumptions. Not that every project must have those assumptions. So you can see, therefore, that the logical framework with its vertical logic and its horizontal logic is, go back to this, it is a tool for planning a logical set of interventions. It is a tool for appraising a program document. It is a concise summary of the program. I said I'm using a program and a project interchangeably, but strictly speaking, program is a set of projects, a group of projects towards one goal. A logframe is a tool for monitoring progress made with regard to delivery of outputs and activities. A logframe is a tool for evaluating the impact of a project or project outputs, its progress in achieving a purpose and a goal. Yes, many projects, some projects to be precise, do not undertake log frames. And when they do not undertake log frames, find that projects have been completed, but the impact of the project is not known. It cannot be measured because, one, no baseline survey was done to say here is where we are, and when we finish the project, this is where we want to be, and that's it. We have had many projects, roads for example, because of lack of log frames, any standards of road can be done. We start at the beginning of the road and the end of the road, but in the middle, indicators may not be the same as the beginning because monitoring and evaluation was not done. And even if it was not done, there was no planned log frame to show us that we're measuring this against the set goals. So this is the log frame, the meaning of the log frame and what it can do. Thank you. Please subscribe and share the lecture. Share to others, even those that are not in my class, our class. No, ask a friend to subscribe too. If you want to reach me, contact me. Those are my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, website, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much, and have a logframe full day, won't you?